Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Eric Broadus back again with another video and back at it with this military content. Yes, indeed. And today, what I would like to name this video is Know When to Pick Your Battles When in the Military. Again, the name of the video is Know When to Pick Your Battles when in the military, or pick your battles wisely when in the military. Now, what actually prompted me to make this video was, I'm quite sure maybe some of you heard about this admiral that got fired off the USS Theodore Roosevelt because he had requested help and leaked out a letter because about 100 of his sailors had gotten infected by the coronavirus, and he is requesting to have the ship docked in Guam so he can get the sailors off the ship and could separate those that were infected and get them into a location where they could be treated and be quarantined so he could contain it and stop the spread from the rest of the sailors. Now, according to the Secretary of the Navy, the reason why they dismissed him is because the letter he sent out was it wasn't secured. Now, I personally have my doubts about that because I remember being in a similar situation when I was deployed, and here is what my beef was. And I won't call out the location, and there'll be no names, but I'll just give you the situation or the scenario. In the place that I was deployed at the time, and this was years ago, what happened is that we had approximately about 21,000 prisoners, and like about a combination of 7,000 military and civilian personnel. But what happened is that the officer corps, now understand something, the officer corps of any branch of the military is that they operate from the strategic level, meaning that they set up the battle plan, the strategic battle plans, or any part of the deployment operation. They deal with it from the strategic level. The enlisted part of the military, they actually carry out the operation, which is considered tactical. So the officer corps is primarily in charge of planning the strategy and how things are going to go and what needs to be carried out. But make a long story short, with a total of 28,000 miles to feed, at the time we didn't have runways built into this deployed location yet. So you basically, in order to get any supplies, you had to convoy out into other locations, which that's a long drive in a hostile environment. And they didn't make the proper plans to ensure that we had food, water, and certain supplies, and we had ran out to the point where we had about, I believe, something like got down to 1 week left before we wouldn't have had any more food or water or any more supplies. And that right there is a failure of poor planning on leadership's part, and this is at the officer corps because they are in control of that particular part. And granted, the higher echelon of the enlisted may have a little bit of input on it, but the higher echelon of the enlisted side, they pretty much are going to lead and manage the tactical side of it, but the officers are responsible for the strategic operation part. But just like this admiral had gotten into an emergency, he had cried out for help. And I'm just going to be honest with you and keep it real. They can say that the letter was leaked securely, but it was honestly more about saving face. See, the difference with the armed forces, once you are in the military, they do have much more reign and control on its officers and its and enlisted members. They have much more control, and so they obviously did not want this to get out, or did not want this thing leaked. Now, here is where I had to pick my battle, because obviously I wasn't the only one, and there were other things that were going on that was off code. But if you're not in charge, what can you do? And so you just basically have to grin and bear it and go along with it. But myself, and there were other members from different branches of service and from different units that, you on a long deployment like that people had their own, gripes and complaints, and some of them were very legitimate. But what happens in the armed forces, when you go on a deployment, what they do, once they debrief you, they also, before you leave that post or location, they will give you what's called an after action report. And on that after action report, what each member is expected to do is to tell of their experience. What it's kind of like a survey, maybe. What did you think worked well? And on paper, they expect the members to be honest, and they say that, well, you can put your name on here if you choose to, or you can remain anonymous. And what I had intended to do was I was going to complete my own after action report, and I was going to take the after action reports of other military members that were on this deployment with me, and I was actually going to give it to an individual that worked in one of the mainstream medias. And upon arriving back at my duty station, I had talked to one of my senior enlisted officers, and what he did, he stopped me in my tracks. Because at that point I was towards the end of my career and getting ready to get out, and he gave me words of caution and some words of wisdom. And he said, do not, he said, don't do that. He said, because if you leak any information, out on what happened at that particular deployed location, they're going to be able, and it gets to the media, he said, they're going to be able to narrow it down, and they're going to figure out exactly who it was that leaked the information. And he said, I promise you, he said, they will mess your career, and they will mess your life up. He said they would do to me in that movie Enemy of the State, what they did when Will Smith played that lawyer Richard Dean. He said they would mess your life up like that. And it does make sense. It does make sense. And so in regards to that Admiral getting fired, I definitely salute him, and I have a lot of respect for him, because he chose his people over his career. So he's a man of principle. And when see, I have videos that talk about certain decisions that you have to make in the military as a leader, whether you're officer or enlisted. And everything is not going to always be popular, and sometimes you have to go against the grain in order to get something done. And there's no way that the Secretary of the Navy, they know that that wasn't right, and all the officers all the way down into his chain of command that were above that Admiral, they knew that that wasn't right, and they wanted to suppress his voice and did not want him to pull the covers from what had happened. But he was concerned about his sailors, and which he has every right to be, because with this coronavirus, I mean, you don't know exactly how dangerous, that it is, but whether it is, obviously it's lethal enough to kill. So whether they consider it to be extremely lethal or not, the bottom line is that you don't want any pandemic spreading, especially amongst your military forces. It's for the job that they have to do. You want to contain it and stop it, as quick as possible. And for those officers that were above that Admiral and the Secretary of the Navy, which he obviously had to resign, which shows you about his credibility, you know, where's your mindset and where's your heart is? Where is your heart at that you cannot have lost value of people? And like I said, I tip my hat off to him because that takes a lot of guts to be able to do that and to put your career on the line like that. Now, with him being dismissed, they'll probably it can either be forced retirement, or they'll probably put him on a job that's not as prestigious. He probably may not be able to command, I don't know, another ship or something like that. You know it is, but the military does have control like that. So what I would say to those that are in, or that if you're considering going in, just understand with the United States Armed Forces, sometimes you're going to have to be able to bite your tongue and grin and bear things, because it's a different culture, and we go with the rule of law. For us, this uniform code of military justice. So that is what we're governed by. Granted, it is based off the Constitution, but there are certain things that are different for military members versus civilians. So it's something just to be mindful of. But kudos again to that admiral. That takes a lot of guts right there. That's a lot of guts right there, and I definitely salute him for standing up and choosing his people, and concerned about their safety. But yeah, just something to think about, knowing when to choose your battles when you're in the armed forces or in the military. It is different, and you don't want to get a bad record in the military, because that'll follow you on the outside. So they have a lot of power and a lot of control. I mean, a lot. But pretty much that's all I have for this video. And what I will do, I will leave the article. It's from USA Today. That's where I chose to get it from. I did see stuff on CBS News, but I'll leave the link to the article in USA Today so you can check it out for yourself. But in the military, know when to pick your battles, because they have while you're in there, and once you swear in, you are under their control. And unlike the civilian world, you are on duty 24/7. But that's all I have for this video, guys. But something to think about. But when in the military, while in the military, know which battles you can fight. Know when to pick your battles. In that case, with that admiral, with that pandemic, that was a battle that he had to fight. He did the right thing by blowing the whistle. As far as whether his letter was secure or not, when it comes to people's lives, how much longer are you going to wait for a secure channel if the people that are above you are not responding? Something had to be done. He made the right choice. That's all I got, guys, and thank you for watching the video. Thanks for listening. And the name of my channel is Eric Broadus YouTube. That's EricBroadus YouTube, or ericbroadusyoutube.com. And please subscribe to my channel. Tap the bell. Please hit the like or unlike button, and please leave some comments. I would love to hear what you think about this. But that's pretty gutsy right there. And also have a podcast called Snacks Thoughts. That's SNAKZTHOUGHTS. Snacks Thoughts. And you can find me on Anchor, Spotify, Spreaker, iTunes. There's a host, Radio PBN. I mean, a whole bunch of audio and social media platforms. So go over there and subscribe and check me out. Check me out. But that's all I have, guys. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.